CEO disguises himself in one of his 8 garages and sees a black female mechanic working with dangerous tools. What shocking truth will he uncover? The sound of metal against concrete echoed through the workshop when the broken screwdriver slipped from Aisha's bloody hand. Blood dripped from a deep cut between her fingers, staining the floor, already dirty with oil and grease. She swallowed the scream of pain, looking nervously at the manager's office. "Everything okay in there, lady?" asked a man with stubble and a worn cap. He was the new assistant who had started that morning, introduced by the manager simply as John. "I'm fine," Aisha replied dryly, wrapping a dirty rag around her hand. "It's not like they're going to give me a first aid kit." Marcus Blake watched the scene with a knot in his stomach. Just 3 days ago, he was John, the unskilled new assistant hired to do heavy work at one of the 8 garages he owned. No one there knew they were watching their boss. At 42, Marcus had inherited the business from his father 6 years ago and turned a small local chain into a profitable medium-sized company. "You should go to the hospital," Marcus suggested, approaching her. "That needs stitches." Aisha laughed bitterly. "Sure, and lose my job. I have 2 kids at home and rent to pay. Come on, help me lift that engine while Peter's on the phone." That's when Marcus noticed the state of the tools scattered on the floor. A torque wrench held together with electrical tape. An unguarded drill, torn gloves, a hydraulic jack that was leaking oil. "Why do you guys work with equipment like this?" he asked, feigning innocence. "Welcome to the real world," said Aisha, forcing a smile as she lifted a heavy part with her good arm. "Peter says new tools don't fit in the budget. Meanwhile, he drives a brand new BMW. From the glass office, Peter Griffin, regional manager, watched the interaction with irritation. A white man in his 50s with a prominent belly stretching his designer shirt, approached them quickly. "Aisha, that Honda Civic should have been ready an hour ago," he yelled, ignoring her bloody hand. "And you, rookie, carry those boxes to the warehouse, or your first week will also be your last." Marcus watched the way Aisha stiffened at the sound of Peter's voice as if bracing herself for a blow. He also noticed how the manager spoke directly to the other mechanics, all white men, but only yelled at Aisha. As he stacked boxes in the dimly lit warehouse, Marcus found a worn file on a rusty metal shelf. Accident reports, dozens of them. Aisha's name appeared repeatedly along with other employees she had never met. Deep cuts, bruises, a crushed finger, chemical burns, all attributed to human error or employee negligence. But what really caught his eye was a different document, an internal memo from Peter to corporate headquarters explaining how he was optimizing costs by postponing equipment maintenance and replacement. At the bottom of the document was a digital signature approved Finance Department corporate headquarters. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. His own finance department had approved this. The cost savings that his executive team had praised so highly were literally stained with the blood of his employees. What hidden secrets will Marcus expose next? Stay tuned to Black Voices to find out. When he returned to the workshop, he saw Aisha struggling to dismantle a brake with the wrong size wrench. Her hands were shaking slightly, either from fatigue or pain. "Are you just going to stand there?" she asked without looking up. "Why are you still here?" Marcus asked softly. In this place under these conditions, the look Aisha gave him could have cut steel. "Because 6 other places told me they didn't have room for someone like me," because 3 asked me if I really knew anything about cars or if I just cleaned the office, because here, as bad as it is, at least they recognize that I know how to do my job. That night, after everyone had left, Marcus remained seated in his car in the empty parking lot, looking at the garage with a new perspective. A faded sign with a Blake Tech Automotive logo hung crookedly above the entrance. The company his father had started with principles of integrity and excellence was now a dangerous place where people like Aisha risked their lives every day. What no one in that garage could have imagined was that Marcus Blake wasn't just a CEO concerned with profits. His father had been an immigrant mechanic who faced similar discrimination before building his empire. And as he watched the workshop lights go out, a plan began to form in his mind, a plan that would not only change the working conditions at that place, but expose a culture of neglect and prejudice that he, in his executive distance, had allowed to flourish under his name. If this story of shocking discovery and transformation has touched your heart, be sure to sign up to follow how a simple disguise will reveal truths that will forever change the fate of an entire company and the life of a mechanic who, despite all the broken tools, never let them break her spirit. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the garage before the sun had even risen. He was no longer wearing his full disguise, keeping only the worn cap on to avoid immediate recognition. From the parking lot, he watched Aisha limp toward the entrance, her hand still bandaged with the same dirty cloth. "This woman literally bleeds for a company that doesn't even know who she is," he muttered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. His cell phone vibrated. A message from Vanessa Chun, Blake Tech's legal director. "Documentation ready as requested. Extremely confidential. Need anything else? Be at the location at 2 p.m. Bring the financial auditor." "No one else," he replied. Vanessa was more than just a competent employee. She was the daughter of immigrants whom his father had helped decades ago. Her loyalty lay with the company's original values, not with spreadsheets. Inside the garage, the day began with Peter gathering the reduced team. Marcus mingled with the group, not yet revealing his identity. "Listen carefully," Peter barked. "Head office wants better numbers this quarter. No overtime, no new parts unless absolutely necessary. No complaints." His eyes fixed on Aisha. "Especially you. I've wasted too much time on your requests." Aisha held his gaze. "My requests are for basic equipment that the law requires," she replied calmly. Peter laughed dismissively. "The law? You think anyone's going to care about your complaints?" A replaceable mechanic complaining about conditions. "Please." For the next few hours, Marcus worked with Aisha, witnessing her extraordinary skill. She diagnosed problems in seconds that would confuse experienced mechanics. Her hands, even though injured, moved with surgical precision. "Where did you learn that?" he asked as she solved an electronic injection problem using only a wire and a broken multimeter. "My father had a small repair shop before he went bankrupt," she explained without taking her eyes off her work. "Since I was a child, I slept under cars learning every part. When the big chain came, they crushed us with predatory prices." "What chain was that?" "Autofix Express." Before it was bought by Blake Tech, she replied bitterly, the complete circle of injustice. The revelation hit Marcus like a punch. 5 years ago, his first act as CEO had been to acquire Autofix Express. His financial team assured him it was an unmissable opportunity with weak local competitors. He never imagined those competitors were people like Aisha's family. At 2 p.m., Marcus saw the black sedan pull up. Vanessa got out with Sofia Kaminsky, a chief auditor known as the fraud detector. In the restaurant across the street, away from Peter's eyes, they gathered. "We found everything," said Vanessa. "Peter didn't just neglect security. He embezzled money intended for equipment. Digital signatures were forged." "How did this go unnoticed?" "Manipulated documents," Sophia replied. "A normal audit wouldn't catch it, but a forensic investigation would. And there's more. Accident reports have been systematically altered. The real rate is 10 times higher than reported." As they discussed, Marcus received an anonymous message, a video of Peter telling another manager, "I hired a black woman to shut HR up about diversity. She even knows how to fix cars." Imagine that. But at the first complaint about safety, she's out. Blake never shows up anyway. "Do we have everything we need?" Marcus asked, his voice trembling with contained rage. "And more," confirmed Vanessa. "The question is, what do you intend to do?" Back at the garage, he found chaos. A luxury car belonging to the mayor needed urgent service. Peter, suddenly attentive to an important customer, demanded perfection. "Aisha, take care of this personally," he ordered. "But no nonsense. That car is worth more than your life." Marcus was watching when he noticed something alarming. The hydraulic jack supporting the vehicle had a visible crack and was leaking fluid. Peter entered with the mayor. "Come see how we take care of our VIPs," he boasted. "We invest only in the best equipment and personnel." "Impressive," commented the mayor. "I've always heard excellent things about Blake Tech integrity and excellence, correct?" "Absolutely," smiled Peter. "Our CEO, Marcus Blake, has prioritized these values from the beginning." That's when the hydraulic jack emitted a high-pitched noise. Aisha instinctively threw herself backward. Peter marched furiously toward her. "What do you think you're doing?" he hissed. "You're embarrassing the company." In front of the jack gave way with a loud thud, causing the vehicle to fall. If anyone had been underneath, the mayor turned pale. "My God, someone could have been killed." Peter panicked, tried to recover. "Unusual accident. Probably human error or sabotage." "It wasn't human error," Aisha interrupted, finally exploding. "I've been warning about this equipment for months. I have emails, forms, everything documented." "You're fired." Effective immediately, Peter shouted. What no one noticed was the almost imperceptible smile on Marcus' lips. After a whole night studying documents, making calls, and preparing every move, his plan was reaching its crucial moment. The evidence on Vanessa and Sophia's tablets, the secret recordings from the last 2 days, the anonymous video he had received, it all fit together perfectly. As Peter shouted threats at Aisha, he barely noticed that customers were discreetly filming the scene. What he also didn't know, every smartphone in Marcus, Vanessa, and Sophia's pockets was recording everything. For a man who had built his career humiliating people he considered inferior, Peter was about to learn that some broken tools are more dangerous than they seem, especially in the right hands. "No one is getting fired today," Marcus said, stepping forward. "Except you, Peter." The manager turned confused. Who do you think you? Marcus Blake, he replied calmly, removing his cap. CEO of Blake Tech Automotive. A deathly silence fell over the garage. Peter paled, then blushed, finally stammering. This is some kind of joke. The mayor, watching closely, muttered. Internal investigation? Something like that? Marcus confirmed as Vanessa and Sophia entered the garage with their tablets. And we've gathered enough evidence. Aisha stood motionless, trying to reconcile the clumsy assistant with the CEO standing before her. This is ridiculous. Peter tried, forcing a laugh. You can't. Vanessa turned her tablet toward him. On the screen, a clear recording. I hired a black woman to shut HR up about diversity. At the first complaint about safety, she's out. Do the financial irregularities explain anything? Asked Sophia, showing detailed spreadsheets, the falsified reports, the forged signatures. The mayor moved away as if Peter had a contagious disease. This is criminal. I did what I had to do to keep your damn profits up. Peter exploded, pointing at Marcus. You're impossible targets. Your budget cuts. A murmur ran through the workshop. The other mechanics exchanged uncomfortable glances. You're right, Marcus admitted, surprising everyone. I'm guilty, too. Aisha looked up, shocked by the admission. I delegated without proper oversight. I prioritized numbers over people, Marcus continued, looking directly at her. That ends today. Turning to Peter, he said, but your guilt goes deeper. You chose to mistreat people, to discriminate, to put lives at risk, to line your own pockets. Marcus called security, who escorted Peter out as he shouted threats of lawsuits. Effective immediately, this garage is closed for complete renovation, Marcus announced. Everyone will receive full paid leave. When it reopens, it will have new equipment and new management. He turned to Aisha. People who know cars and value people if you're interested. Aisha stared at him for a long time. Why should I trust you? You've already admitted that you allowed this to happen. You shouldn't, he replied honestly. I deserve your distrust, but you will have complete autonomy to implement safety standards. Every request will be approved, and you will be compensated for years of unnecessary risk. The mayor interjected, my administration can assign an independent inspector to monitor the improvements. A week later, the transformation was visible. Scaffolds surrounded the exterior of the garage where new signage was being installed. Inside, crews removed old equipment while others unloaded modern tools. In a temporary office, Aisha reviewed blueprints with Marcus. This exhaust system is inadequate, she pointed out. We need 30% more capacity. Approved, Marcus replied without hesitation. Anything else? Yes, the other regional managers, said Aisha. If Peter was the problem here, who's to say there aren't others? Marcus smiled. You're already thinking like a manager. I'm thinking like someone who doesn't want to see other people suffer what I've suffered. She corrected. Marcus motioned for Vanessa to come in with a folder. Surprise audits of all garages. 3 managers have already been removed. Safety and compliance supervisor for the entire chain, she offered with the authority to close any garage that doesn't meet standards. Just then, Marcus's phone rang, his CFO, Frank Matthews. "Blake, this is crazy. The costs of these renovations will destroy our quarter. The board is furious." "Frank," Marcus interrupted, "did you sign Peter's forged approvals?" Tense silence on the other end. "Because we have evidence that someone on your team approved illegal cuts." "I didn't know the extent." "Board meeting tomorrow. Bring your resignation or names of those involved." "This goes to the top then," Aisha commented after the call. "Wherever it goes," Marcus confirmed. "My father built this company to serve people, not exploit them." What Marcus didn't tell Aisha as they discussed rebuilding plans was the email he had just received from the company's lawyers. The board of directors, led by ambitious Executive Vice President Richard Townsend, had called an emergency vote to remove him. The majority shareholders concerned about the financial impact of the reforms were questioning his competence. To Aisha, looking at the renovation plans, everything finally seemed to be moving toward justice. For Marcus, a much bigger battle was looming, one where he would have to choose between his father's vision and the empire he had built. And somewhere in the city, Peter Griffin smiled at his cell phone, exchanging messages with Richard Townsend about how to regain control of the situation. How much is integrity worth when an entire empire is at stake? The true test of Marcus Blake's character would not be in the renovation of a garage, but in the boardroom where he would face those who saw people as numbers and security as an unnecessary expense. The Blake Tech Automotive corporate auditorium was packed. On one side, nervous shareholders and high-ranking executives. On the other, a line of garage employees, including Aisha, who had never set foot in the headquarters before. Marcus Blake stood in the center, calm despite the gravity of the situation. "This special meeting has one item on the agenda," announced Richard Townsend, the vice president leading the opposition, to vote on the retention or removal of Marcus Blake as CEO following financially irresponsible decisions. Marcus smiled slightly, watching the faces around him before the vote. "I have a 15-minute presentation as is my statutory right. May I?" Richard nodded reluctantly. Marcus motioned to Vanessa, who distributed sealed folders to each board member. "Don't open them yet," Marcus instructed, turning on the projector. "I want to tell a story first." On the screen appeared a picture of Marcus's father standing next to an old car. "My father started out fixing cars with borrowed tools. He built this empire on two principles: employee safety and respect for customers." The image changed to financial charts. "Over the past 5 years, our profit margin has increased by 42%. Impressive. But at what cost?" Next click. Photos of broken tools in the garage. The cracked hydraulic jack. Aisha's bloody hand. "This is the cost," Marcus said, his voice steady. "Dangerous tools. Employees at risk. Systematic discrimination." A murmur ran through the auditorium. Richard tried to interrupt. "This is pure emotional manipulation. The numbers. The numbers." "Richard." Marcus smiled. A calculated gesture. "Now you can open the folders." The silence that followed was absolute. The folders contained detailed reports of embezzlement, forged signatures, and transcribed recordings, including several of Richard himself arguing with Peter about cutting unnecessary security costs and keeping that black girl in line. Blake Tech isn't just a garage company, Marcus continued. It's a legacy, a symbol of integrity that my father built, and I almost destroyed it through negligence. Aisha stood up, surprising everyone. If I may, she said clearly. I've never been to a corporate meeting before, but can I show you something? Marcus nodded, intrigued. Aisha rolled up her sleeve, revealing a deep scar on her forearm. This happened when an elevator collapsed. I received no compensation, no adequate medical care. I kept working because I had to feed my children. She looked at the shareholders. You make millions off our sweat, off our blood. If that doesn't matter to you, consider the legal costs when these accidents become public, when the discriminatory practices are exposed. The tension was palpable. Richard paled, tried one last card. Even so, Marcus' proposed reforms are financially unfeasible. Really? Marcus clicked the projector again. Phase 1 of the reforms has already been implemented in the model garage. After 3 weeks of operation, productivity is up 28%. Customer complaints 0. And the big surprise, new slide, an upward graph. Operating profit up 15%. Safety and dignity don't cost money, they generate it. The vote was almost unanimous. Marcus would remain CEO. The reform plan would be implemented across the entire network, and Richard, along with 3 other executives involved in the scheme, was removed from the board and faced internal proceedings. 3 months later, Marcus inaugurated Blake Tech's new Security and Compliance Department headquarters. Aisha, now executive director of the department, cut the red ribbon to applause. Every garage now has top-of-the-line equipment, she announced to the reporters in attendance. We've implemented strict protocols, ongoing training, and a direct channel for reporting violations without retaliation. Peter Griffin watched the ceremony on television in his small apartment, the only one he could afford after losing everything. His defamation suits had been dismissed. 3 criminal charges of negligence were pending. The final irony, no auto shop would hire him, not even as a car washer. After the ceremony, Aisha found Marcus looking at the restored portrait of his father in the main lobby. He would be proud, she said. Of both of us, Marcus replied. You know what impresses me most? How you managed to solve complex mechanical problems with broken tools for so long. Aisha smiled. That's what people like me do all our lives. We improvise. We adapt. We survive with the bare minimum. Imagine what we can accomplish with the right tools. The following week, Blake Tech launched a scholarship program for young mechanics from marginalized communities. The training center housed in the renovated Garage 3 was named after Aisha's father, the small mechanic who lost his business to predatory corporations years earlier. A TV crew documented the first class of graduates receiving their professional toolkits. Among them were Aisha's 2 teenage sons. My mom taught me that no matter how hard they try to break you, the older son told the camera, it's what you build from the broken pieces that really matters. In his office, Marcus watched the broadcast with a satisfied smile. His phone buzzed. A new quarterly profit record. Integrity, it turned out, was the best business model after all. Sometimes we need to go undercover to see the naked truth. And sometimes it's the very people society tries to break who have the strength to fix entire systems. If this story of transformation and justice touched your heart, sign up now for more stories that prove that true success isn't measured by profits alone, but by the dignity we give to every person who crosses our path.